Alright, I'm back many days later. Where we left off, I had just cut the hole. That was a long and drawn out process. So step 2, or 3, or 4, whatever we're at, it's time to actually start mocking up our snorkel. So off camera, I cut my stainless tubing into a few pieces, measured just based on the 3D model. I made sure to use a chop saw to do this so that all my cuts are straight to make welding it together as easy as it can possibly be. And then I practiced a little bit on some old tubing that I had, which is the same stuff as this. It came out okay. I mean, this is all gonna get covered, you're not gonna see it, but this is kind of where I left off quality wise. So listen, whatever, I'm not a welder, so we'll take it. Grinder and paint makes you the welder you ain't. So if you guys remember, I made a template. Of course, what else do I do? I made another template, or a jig I should say, and I 3D printed it. This is that model you guys saw briefly on the screen, right? So this I 3D printed, and this is going to hold in place each piece so that I can start mocking it up. So this isn't going to get everything perfect, but it's a good starting point for me to get the basic shape. I'm going to tape everything together so it's like temporary. I'm not going to tack anything yet, and then we can kind of fine-tune things over on the truck. So this is the basic idea. So I have these marks to show me where to lay each piece of tubing. So for example, this obviously is a bend. Here's my bend piece. Measured exactly, and all I really need to do is rotate it until it kind of fits right, like that, and that should be pretty much the right angle. So you can see there's not really a gap there, there's not really a gap there, so that's our angle. Slide these together. I'm not going to bother actually attaching these, it's not that big a deal. Put in my straight piece. That meets up nice with that. You can see these two little marks here I made. I knew that's where the weld was going to be, so here's my other angled piece. Bada bing, bada boom. Kind of rotate it around so it makes sense, kind of there. So this is the main tricky part done right here. Because this piece goes straight, this piece goes straight, right? This is our main kind of tube that goes up the A-pillar. This goes into the engine bay. So this is where the critical stuff is happening. So all I'm going to do is take this as is. I'm going to tape these joints together, and we're going to put it on the truck, and we're going to see how it fits. Alright, I gotta mark one of these sides so I know. I think we're like that? Yeah. Okay. Just gonna make a arrow. Air direction. Cool. To the truck. Alright, so this process is gonna take some trial and error, but let's see how close our starting point is at least. Here. Oh, I think we're too far in. So right off the bat, I know this needs to get opened up a little bit, but we knew that was going to happen. Uh-oh. Okay, so maybe that needs to happen before we can really do anything. Oh, really? So that's actually kind of it right there. Alright, so from the angle of the camera, it kind of looks like it's going down, but when you're looking at the truck from the side, this, like we planned, is nice and parallel with the top of the hood. So I thought I was recording for the last 30 minutes, and I was wrong. But you didn't miss much. Basically, all I did was I removed the ditch light bracket And then I rerouted my light bar power cable from, it used to go around here under the ditch light and then in the truck. I found enough space in between this, these two little body lines here to bring it into the fender and then bring it inside. So that's a much cleaner solution to that anyway. And now we can get back to mocking up this tube. All right, here we go. Get this in here. That's pretty freaking good. That's pretty freaking close. For the first try, I'm more than happy with that actually. That's freaking awesome. I still need to put this straight piece in here, but we are already super close. And I think from the camera angle, it kind of looks like this goes down, but from the side view, it's perfectly parallel with the hood, just like in our 3D model. So let me grab the next piece and see how that goes in. So this tube, the angle of this tube is fixed, right? It's going through 3 different layers of sheet metal. I can't adjust the inside tube here. So from here now, I can tweak these 2 outside tubes to get back to where we need to be, which is angled down slightly. Maybe I'll untape here, put them where they're supposed to be, and then try taping it back together. Oh yeah. That's pretty freaking good. Yeah. That is pretty freaking good. That's pretty good. I think I'm comfortable calling it here as far as alignment goes, and tacking this together, making sure it still works as a solid piece. And then what we're gonna have to do is kind of just clean up the cut in the fender a little bit. We're gonna need a little tolerance because I have a piece of edge band, edge strip stuff that's gonna go around. It's getting there. So that went really well. I do realize that in retrospect, this jig didn't matter at all, because I connected these 2 pieces, and then all I had to do was rotate them, you know, and find the right spot. So I didn't actually need the jig to do that, but whatever. You can see though, we are, I don't know if you can tell from there, but we are a little off also from where the jig wanted us to be. So either way, it had to kind of be done manually to get it perfect. So I'm happy enough with the alignment that we got doing that. So I'm gonna cut away a couple spots of the tape here and put some tacks on this thing. Once it's all tacked together and it's solid, then we can kind of put it there again and triple check that everything's right, but I think we're on the right track. One really nice thing though is that the jig is going to help a lot with holding this whole thing while I'm welding, because this is kind of an awkward shape. So that's good. Alright, let's do some welding and see how it goes. Alright, so I've made a little bit of progress off camera. Did not want to bore you guys watching me struggle through TIG welding. We're definitely not doing any close-ups on this. But here it is. It's all in one piece. Ooh. So I'm going to leave this as is for now. Obviously, I still have to grind down all these welds and do the finishing, but I think next I need to change my focus now to really fine-tuning the opening in the truck. It is pretty hard to kind of slide this in and maneuver it around, and once there's paint on this, that's going to obviously ruin the paint and stuff like that. So, Jesus Christ with your fucking car. So yeah, I'm just going to spend some time with the die grinder and see if I can get that dialed in. It's a pretty good fit. I'm going to clean up, like I think you can kind of see this line isn't perfectly straight, which means I got to make that cut a little straighter. But overall, this is why we did all that prep work, I guess, right?
I gotta be honest, I'm also not a huge fan of that edge trim. It's very shiny, and it's also very wide, so maybe we'll end up swapping that out later, but really not gonna worry about it right now. All right, I've got some acid etch primer and some black enamel paint, so I think this should be sufficient to cover up the edges of the cut here. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint this on, and then before we put that black trim on, I'll, I guess, maybe put some like fluid film goop in here or something, because the edge of that trim kind of sticks up and water and dirt's going to get trapped in there, which isn't a good combo for rust, but we'll see how it goes. Well, everybody, we have reached the unfortunate part of this video where I, in my infinite wisdom, forgot to turn on the microphone on my camera. So now I get to record everything again. But that's okay, because I remember what we did. So at this point, I'm just talking about my plans to actually mount the Snorkel to the A-pillar. I'm holding the ditch light support bracket that I removed earlier. So the idea is we're going to cut that little ear off of the ditch light bracket. We'll grind that down smooth and then weld that onto the Snorkel, and that'll give us a nice solid mounting point. The fabricators out there might have noticed an issue with this plan, which is that the Snorkel is stainless. However, this ditch light bracket is not. It's just mild steel, powder coated. So the main issue there is that my nice new Snorkel, even though it's all going to get Raptor lined anyway, isn't going to rust, even if there's, you know, a hole in the paint, etc. But this ditch light bracket is going to rust, pretty much guaranteed, unfortunately. So that's kind of the downside of this plan. But the reality is I don't have the tools to make up a new bracket like that. So we're just going to use what we have in the interest of moving on from this project, which has taken too long already. And there's nothing wrong with recycling something that you're not going to use anymore. And now, as promised, I am cleaning up all these welds and grinding them smooth. I was honestly surprised. A lot of you guys on Instagram, when I talked about, I think I posted a story just talking about how I'm going to be grinding all the welds smooth, the Raptor lining it. A lot of you guys said no, like keep it stainless. The stainless looks cool. I agree, it definitely does look cool, but my welds do not, unfortunately. So, you know, if I was a really skilled welder and I was able to do some TIG welds that I was proud of, you know, maybe that was an option, but it really just wasn't an option. So here is the final product. I think it came out pretty good. The only issue I ran into a little bit was that because the straight sections and the bends were from two different, I guess, manufacturers. I mean, they're both Amazon, so who knows, but they had a slightly different radius. So there's a little bit of a lip, little overhang where they meet. I don't know if you can see that. But I kind of strategically put those on the side that faces the truck so that you won't see them. And I think it came out pretty good. So here's the kind of first fit up with all the welds ground. You can see me holding the bracket we made in place. And I'm just trying to figure out exactly where this thing should get positioned. And then we're going to go ahead and tack it in place. So here I found a good spot. I marked it. Now I'm just taping the bracket down so it doesn't move. And then we'll go grab the welder. One thing that you can't really see though is that I wasn't able to just push the Snorkel right up against the bracket. There needs to be a little bit of a space so that the spacing between the A-pillar and the Snorkel is kind of consistent all the way up. So we're going to have to make a little spacer for it. So I'm just going to tack this guy on here, pretty much just like that. Sorry, actually not like that. Like that. So we got our little tab here welded onto the A-pillar bracket. So now we're going to go ahead, get this fitted up again, get the Snorkel fitted up in its final location, and get these two things tacked together.
Once we do that, we're almost done with the fab work. I need to continue grinding down some of the welds. I'm almost done. My batteries just kept dying. And I think one other thing we have to do is countersink the holes in the bracket that we made, because I bought some panhead, stainless panhead bolts, but they're too tall and the door is going to hit them when the door shuts. So I think we need to do some countersinking and use some bolts that'll sit flush with the mount. Looks good from the front. Coming over here, the actual hole opening. I mean, there's a little bit of a gap here because this kind of wants to get pushed in more, but that's messing me up over there, so just not gonna worry about it. From the side, looks good, parallel with the hood like we wanted. And the main thing for me is I want to make sure that the tube is perfectly parallel with that A-pillar, which it looks like it is. So I'm good to call it there. I think we're gonna go ahead and tack it. Exciting. All right, there it is. So we are tacked up. So I'm gonna go weld it. I mean, that looks pretty good. I'm gonna try to do a much better job welding this part than I did originally. So we'll see how it goes. Woo! Well, mission accomplished. That is much nicer than last time. I know some people say welding like that is cheating, but whatever. You gotta do what you gotta do. I'll take that. I did pick up some new edge trim. This one is a little smaller than the other one, so I think it's gonna look better. So let's see how this goes. Yeah. And this one also has some 3M adhesive on the inside. I don't know if you can see that. So it'll keep it from coming off. So I just did a test fit with now the final welded bracket. And I'll be honest, I'm not super happy with how it turned out. So I'm skipping to this just to see maybe if the fitment will be a little better once we add in the thickness of our edge trim. It was a little sloppy looking for my liking. That's pretty freaking nice. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. That looks way better than the other one. Yeah. So the nice part about this edge trim is that it has this 3M stuff, so you just come in here, peel it back from both sides, peel it back like this, stick it down. Oh yeah, that is stuck. That is not going anywhere. Come all the way around, peel it off, and boom. Come in here and stick it. Look at that. But how does the Snorkel like it? Let's see. Nice tight fit so far. Not too bad. I mean, it really wants to be like, all the way here, but our bracket is not going to allow for that. If I really crank it on there, maybe bend it up a little, and exactly end up where it needs to end up. So I might have to try to bend this bracket a little to get everything to start fitting right. And I'm going to cut this tube as well. So like right here, this is fine. I'm okay with this. Everything looks good, but our bracket just is not going to cooperate with that. You can see. The bracket has a bit of a angle now, so I can kind of push up on it and help that, but it looks kind of shitty. So I'm gonna see if I can stick it in the vise and maybe tweak it a little bit. I don't want to go too crazy, but it needs a little bit of adjustment. Alright, so I was able to tweak it a little bit, so now it's kind of there, which It's not perfect, but I can live with that. I think now I'm gonna mark and cut off the excess bit here, and then maybe next we will get the rib nuts into the A-pillar.
So this is pretty much it from here, guys. I didn't end up recording putting in the riv nuts and actually raptor lining the snorkel, but there's really not much to that. There's a million other videos on YouTube about how to do riv nuts and raptor line. But this was the end of all the fab work. So if you're still watching this far, thank you guys so much for watching, and we're gonna skip right into the results.
Alright guys, at long last, this thing is finally done. I think I probably started this project 8 months ago, so it's been a while, but we got it done, and I think it looks really good, and I'm really excited about how it came out. I definitely learned a lot on this project. I think there's some things I probably would have done different the second time around, but I think it was cool to show you guys just a different way of thinking about how to do stuff like this. Obviously, you could have done this all without the 3D modeling and the 3D scanning, stuff like that, but that's what I know how to do, so that's what we did. I'm really happy with how the Raptor liner came out. I can see there's one little spot in there on the weld that is rusting, so I'm gonna have to hit that, but otherwise, it looks great. And honestly, I think, you know, if this thing took a light brush with the tree or something, I think it could handle it without too much damage to the truck, hopefully. A lot of you guys have shown interest on Facebook and Instagram as I've shared the progress on this, and you want to know if you can get one for yourself. So we're going to look into it. At the time of this filming, I don't have it figured out quite yet. Maybe when the video comes out, I'll have it figured out with our manufacturer. Maybe we can get some of these made for you guys. But if not, hopefully watching my video will give you a good enough idea of how to make something like this for yourself. A lot of people I spoke to online, when I shared why I was doing this, why was I putting all this effort into something stupid like a snorkel when you can get one for 90 bucks? A lot of people actually ended up agreeing with me that they don't like the options that are out there. Some people regret putting on the cheapo snorkel. Some people just never did it because they don't like it, like me. So that's all I got. If you guys have made it this far in the video though, I just want to say thank you so much for sticking around. This was kind of a long series. Probably, maybe not the most interesting subject matter for some of you guys, but I really appreciate you watching and coming along with me on the build. I just want to say, you know, our channel doesn't get a lot of views yet, but you know, just the thought that even 100 people are interested enough in the kind of stuff that I do for fun to, you know, stick around and watch these videos and kind of hang out with me is pretty cool. So if you're one of those people, thank you so much. And if you didn't already know, we make a ton of stuff for the Jeep Cherokee. So if you have a Jeep Cherokee and you're interested in switch plates or molly panels or anything of that nature, go check out our website. We got a lot of cool stuff. We make a lot of stuff for this truck that nobody else makes, and it's going to majorly upgrade your off-road, overland, storage, whatever you want to call it, game. So please check us out, trail-co.com, and get some parts from two guys that really just genuinely love the Jeep Cherokee. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.